Welcome into NFL Daily here on Chat Sports. I am Tom Downey, and if you like what we're doing here with daily NFL and NBA videos as well, show it by liking today's video right now. A very simple request as we answer all of your trade ideas / questions and comments on today's show. First up, a trade idea from Christopher C. The Steelers receive Deion Jones and a 4th-round pick. The Falcons get Devin Bush and a 3rd-rounder. So a pretty creative trade package here. The Falcons save quite a bit of money, and I think Christopher's a Steelers fan. I'm actually not sure on that one. The Steelers, in theory, get the better linebacker, hence giving up the better pick there. I don't hate this idea in a bubble. You're swapping out, at some level, disappointing linebackers. I would almost wonder if it's a bit too expensive for Pittsburgh to add Deion Jones after adding Myles Jack, but I appreciate the creativity involved in this one. I think the Steelers say no. I think the Falcons would say yes. Gamble on another linebacker, see if Devin Bush can bounce back, and you're getting a better draft pick as well. From T Phoenix 229, Robert Quinn to Indy in exchange for Ryan Kelly or Grover Stewart and a 2nd-rounder. So I don't know if this is Ryan Kelly or Grover Stewart and a 2nd no matter what, or Ryan Kelly or Grover Stewart and a 2nd, with that latter part being specified there. I can tell that T Phoenix is an Indianapolis Colts fan. I actually think Indy should not do this idea. Edge rusher is not an area of need for this organization. You traded for Yannick Ngakoue already. You have 1st-round pick Kwity Paye, 2nd-round picks Deo Odiningbo, Tyquan Lewis, Ben Bannigu. Now, some of those guys aren't very good. I don't view edge as that big of a need. I do think Grover Stewart's important since you don't really have another proven nose tackle beyond him. And I know maybe this is some Danny Pinter praise. I would not move on from Ryan Kelly if I were Indy. It makes a lot of sense for the Bears, but I think Indy actually ends up saying no. From Tyrell Burgess, will the Seahawks trade DK Metcalf? It is, after all, NFL wide receiver trade rumor season palooza, as you saw Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, etc. all get dealt. A.J. Brown get dealt. Now Metcalf, McLaurin holding out from their teams. I don't think Seattle trades away DK because you shouldn't trade away young, talented players who do fit your timeline, even in a rebuild. If he were to be dealt, hypothetically speaking, 5 teams, and I think, 4 teams that could make some sense. The Bears, let's build around Justin Fields. The Ravens need a true proven number 1. The Packers and Chiefs allegedly wanted to pay their players. The Packers made a huge offer for Devontae Adams. The Chiefs a smaller one for Tyreek Hill. Metcalf would better fit that cost from a money perspective, and both teams could make it work in their salary caps. I've seen Tennessee linked to DK Metcalf in the past. They didn't pay A.J. Brown $25 million. Are they going to pay DK Metcalf $25 million or more? I don't think so. So what do you think, in the end, the Seahawks do with one DK Metcalf? Type in T for they trade him, or you can type in P for they pay him. Let me know in the comment section. This one is the pinned comment on today's video. From Elon Volk, Javon Kinlaw to the Denver Broncos, and the Niners receive Bradley Chubb. So a very rare player-for-player swap. Chubb might not be long in Denver. Kinlaw's been a disappointment. Let's break down the Broncos side first. If you trade away Bradley Chubb, you've still got Nick Bonito, Malik Reed, Jonathan Cooper, and, I guess Baron Browning in his position change as well. I don't hate that idea for Denver. You bench McTelvin Najim, and you're loaded up front. I like it for Denver. I don't like it for San Francisco. They're going to dump D Ford, and I put Eric Armstead at D tackle because they're so deep at pure edges with Sansom Ebukam, Nick Bosa, Charles Menahue. So they're going to pick Drake Jackson, Armstead, who plays some edge and D line, mainly edge at this point in his NFL career. They don't need another pass rusher. So I think the Niners in that trade package end up saying no. Santos Marino's trade idea next up here. A DK Metcalf trade. The Bears get Metcalf, and the Seahawks get a first and a future second-round pick. So remember that future draft picks are normally valued at 1 less than the current value of a pick. So, or 1 round less. So that's a first and a third. That's the right value. It's what A.J. Brown went for, and there's a chance, even with the DK Metcalf in Chicago, that pick could be higher than what Tennessee got to get rid of A.J. Brown, and then they took Treylon Burks with. So, Santos, I think you had the trade value just about right on that standpoint. 2 notable players right now holding out of minicamp, at least they were holding out of minicamp. It's wrapped up for Seattle, of course. Pick a wide receiver for me. Who would you rather have on your team? Let's say the cost of a trade, money-wise, draft capital-wise, is similar. Type in DK for DK Metcalf or TM for Terry McLaurin. Folks, we are also on Rumble. We have free and uncensored content. You can play it podcast style, by the way, on your phone, which I know some of you guys like quite a bit. Sports news, politics, tech, and business video platforms are also available on Rumble beyond us here at Chat Sports. We are growing to platforms you guys use. So give us a follow for free at rumble.com/NFL Daily. That link will be in the comments section, and it will be in the description. From Drake Landon, will the Falcons trade Deion Jones? I think they'll try to. I wonder if his shoulder surgery negatively impacts the hopes of that one. It makes a lot more financial sense for Atlanta to move on from Deion Jones in a trade more so than a release. Just from a financial perspective, it saves them a lot more money than what it does if they just outright cut him. I think his contract is a bit tricky. I think there's a lot of maybe you just cut him. Let's see what happens from other NFL teams. 5 that could make some sense, by the way. The Dallas Cowboys make a lot of sense with the Dan Quinn connection. Denver could use one more interior inside linebacker. Could make sense from that perspective. The Chargers also may be worth exploring since Kenneth Murray didn't work out that great last year. Pittsburgh, we already saw the one trade mailbag question earlier about Devin Bush for Deion Jones, so we'll put them in there. And the Miami Dolphins as well, if they don't trust some of the young guys, if maybe Channing Tindall's not ready at this point. I know some Falcons fans are done with Deion Jones, so I want everyone watching, Falcons fans or not, to name a player on your team who you want to trade away. Let me know in the comment section right now. We got another Robert Quinn and another Bears trade today. Funny how many of those there were today. From Howard Davis. Bears get a 4th-round pick and a conditional 5th. Rams get Robert Quinn. He said it was a bit unrealistic. I do think L.A. is one of, if not the outright best, current destinations for Quinn. That could change if there are injuries, for example, or if a Rams player balls out in a shocking fashion. I do think, though, you were right in your comment, Howard. It is a little bit on the low side for the value. If you make it a 3rd and a conditional 4th or 5th, you might be a little bit better on track from a trade value perspective. Maxwell Monson, the Niners get a 3rd and a 6th, and Carolina gets Jimmy Garoppolo. This one's pretty interesting to me. If you had told me this trade package before we knew that Jimmy G had shoulder surgery, I would have said, kind of think Carolina has to give a little bit more, but of course they had no picks this year, so you know what I mean. Now, with the market really drying up for Jimmy G, I wonder if that's almost too much for Carolina. I do think the Panthers and Jimmy G, however, are a logical fit. Carolina drafted Matt Corral in the 3rd round this year. I know that Golden Corral's a fun meme. He is not prepared to start yet in the NFL. Jimmy G could buy Carolina time to groom Matt Corral or draft somebody else if he's not the player and potentially still save Matt Rule's job. I like that fit and destination quite a bit. Now, if you want to stay updated on everything going on around the NFL, hit that big red button and subscribe. These questions on today's mailbag, since we had no NFL Live, thanks NBA Finals, well, they all came from our community page, and our subscribers were the only ones who had access to it. So if you want to be a part of this mailbag and other mailbags, or this type of mailbag, I should say, since it's already been filmed, hit that big red button and subscribe. That way you don't miss out on any of our NFL coverage here at Chat Sports. From Basketball-y, Browns get Jimmy Garoppolo. The Niners get Baker Mayfield and a 4th-round pick. So this would save San Francisco about $7 million in salary cap space. They get a backup quarterback in Baker Mayfield and the 4th-round pick. Not the worst package, actually, for San Francisco. I do wonder if they would view the $18 million contract left over for Baker that they would have to carry as worth the 4th-round pick as opposed to just cutting Jimmy Garoppolo straight up. The only way, though, that this makes sense for the Browns is if Deshaun Watson's suspended for the entire year. Because if he's playing, you cannot pay Jimmy Garoppolo that amount of money. Now, maybe you could cut Jimmy G, but then you would just be shipping off a 4th-round pick to save $18 million in salary cap space. So I think it only makes sense if Deshaun's suspended for the entire year. If that happens, the Browns are a logical Jimmy G trade destination in a kind of crazy all-of-a-sudden fashion. From Random Skull Guy, could the Vikings trade away Alexander Mattison? Maybe. I think that would qualify in the surprise trade category. I know they've drafted on day 3 in recent years Kenan Nwangu and Ty Chandler, and you've got Dalvin Cook, but I like Mattison. As a former 3rd-round pick, he's been fairly productive. I would say the more likely outcome here is they just keep him on the roster for a year, and then they let him hit free agency and maybe get a comp pick as well. If they do shop him, some teams that could maybe be in the trade market: Arizona, the Saints. As we sit here filming this, the Saints have shown interest in David Johnson. Maybe they sign him, maybe they don't. Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and Tennessee are in good shape with their starters. They've got studs, of course, Najee Harris and Derrick Henry. In fact, all these teams have starters-ish. You got James Conner, Kamara/Ingram, Miles Sanders. But a backup running back for, let's say, a mid to late day 3 pick, that could intrigue all 5 of those teams on there. I want you guys now to shout out your favorite team in the comments section. Let me know which team you love more than all the rest across the NFL. One last question/comment idea from Vincent Sorletti, a big-time Steelers fan, of course, as you can tell. He says, trade Mason Rudolph. Far from the first time I have seen this trade idea or this suggestion from Steelers fans. I get it. You save a lot of money. The issue I keep coming back to is who actually wants Mason Rudolph? I don't think there's much trade value there. I would rank the options as Rudolph stays, gets cut, and then he gets traded, but not that far separated. I just don't think there's that much interest in him at this stage of his NFL career, given what we've seen so far out of Mason Rudolph in Pittsburgh.